They've got to start from deep in their end of the field, and Garrison Hurst takes advantage of it. He takes the handoff, sweeps to his right, into the 20. He's in the 30. Needs to cut in. He comes back up the right sideline. Breaks the third tackle. Comes down to the 30. He's down to the 20. He's down to the 10. He's down to the 5. He's into the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown! 49ers! 96-yard run from scrimmage. Garrison Hurst breaking tackle after tackle. Sweeps down the sideline. Throws off bodies like clothes after a marathon.
Young, back to throw. In trouble, he's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again, to the 35, cuts back at the 30, to the 20, the 50, the 10. He died. Touchdown, 49ers.
Third down, Alex takes the snap. Alex looking down in post, and it's good. Touchdown! Touchdown, 49ers!
It is second down. Ryan takes the snap, throws the slant to the left side. It's Russell, intercepted! The 49ers pick it, and Navarro Bowman is redemption! Navarro Bowman running it all the way for the touchdown! No greater redemption!
The San Francisco 49ers, we can do whatever we want.
Click, click, boom! What's going on, faithfuls? It's your boys Mike and Tony, and we're here to bring you guys just a little quick update of the current status of the 49ers. I don't know if you guys can see out of my background here, but it's cloudy, and I think there might be a little bit of a black cloud hanging over the 49ers. Tony will not be on in video, but he is here. Tony, what's going on, man? How you doing?
No, what's up? What's going on? How you doing?
I mean, I've been better. It's one thing to take a loss. You know, when we walked away from the game thinking, all right, at least we got out of there without injuries. And then you find out Kyle Shanahan loses his Linus blanket. He loses his security blanket and Deebo Samuel for a couple of games. So let's go ahead and get into that. You got the team telling us for weeks that Christian McCaffrey was fine. Christian McCaffrey says, I think I'm going to play. They finally say the injury, but they say, hey, but he's day to day. He's day to day. And then they put him on IR, so he's out for at least 4 weeks. If they're telling us that Deebo Samuel is week to week, what should we expect from this injury?
Well, it's Deebo's injury started as the same injury as CMC, so I wonder if they're two of the same injuries. So it's a little concerning with the calf and the Achilles. It's all tied together. So if it's something what CMC's dealing with, I think you're going to see the same situation where he's going to go on the IR for a while.
Wow. So you're saying that this could potentially get worse than what we're even currently hearing, much like what happened with Christian McCaffrey.
I'm just saying that the way they said things with CMC could be this kind of what they're going to do with Deebo. I mean, I don't know. You know, I didn't know anyone was hurt. He didn't say anything in his post-game press conference. So all of a sudden now Deebo pops up. Now, what is it? Is it truly just a calf strain, or is it the calf strain that's going to turn into X, Y, and Z, and it's required to miss X amount more time? And that's just a scary notion right now.
What do you think is going on with the 49ers strength and conditioning staff that they can't quite get a hold of these injuries? Like, you don't think there's been a weird offseason of injury reporting for the Niners? And I'm not saying that they're purposely doing anything wrong, but how they've been so off. Like, oh, no injury report after the game. Deebo's out for a couple of weeks. Christian McCaffrey's day to day. We're putting him on IR. Like, this is weird, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't tie 100% to the strength and conditioning. I think it's the lackluster of the offseason, right? They're so restricted in what they can do in training camp. They're so restricted now with one less game in the preseason. The NFL has turned into, in honest opinion, the cream puff league in the offseason. So with all these restrictions, I mean, I remember these guys doing doubles, triples in Rockland in 102-degree weather, and now all of a sudden there was no soft tissue injuries back then. Now and all these guys are coming up dinged up and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, you know, is it the lack of the true offseason why these injuries are taking place, at least for Deebo and at least for potentially CMC? I mean, now you got to chalk your first 3-4 weeks of the NFL season up to an extended preseason because there's no timing with these teams. All these teams that are supposed to be powerhouses really don't look good. And what is it? Like all of a sudden they shit the bed? No, this is what happens when you cut the preseason and you put all these restrictions on how many practices, how long could they practice for? And you're starting to see it.
Yeah, man, it's definitely a bit concerning. And this even kind of, this is Debo, who was reportedly in the best shape of his career so far, right? Had the best training camp and OTAs of his career, right? Like he showed up in shape, and they said that he looked better and more explosive and all that stuff.
Right.
And then he still gets this injury. Let's try to spin it though, Tony. I think that there is a little bit of a dark cloud. I'm here. I had some buddies texting me, some Eagles buddies, by the way, texting me before their game last night saying, hey, man, maybe this is the 49ers Super Bowl hangover. I thought you could only have a Super Bowl hangover if you won the Super Bowl. Like, am I mistaken in that?
No, I think you're right. I mean, listen, there's definitely a dark cloud over this organization. Is it tied to the Super Bowl? I don't know. No one will know. They don't know. But there's definitely something lingering with this team. I mean, this poor kid Purcell got shot. He's lucky to be here, and that don't happen normally. Like shit like that doesn't happen. So you had that situation. You had two major holdouts with two players that are supposed to be massive contributors to this offense going forward. Trent Williams looked like shit. Brandon Aiyuk didn't look great. He looked like shit. He don't look the same Brandon Aiyuk he has. If anything, I think he looks a little bit bigger and heavier, to be honest with you, than what he did in previous years. So, you pile those two things in, the unknown with Christian McCaffrey even coming into camp, it's just not a good look, and it's something is just with this team. I mean, I don't know.
It's definitely concerning. But what I want to challenge us to do right now, Tony, is how can we encourage the faithful? There is a lot that people are worried about. Here's the good news, guys. The Lions lost, the Eagles lost, the Cowboys lost. Like all the teams, the Packers have a loss, right? Like all the teams that we expect to be in the postseason or vying for that number one overall spot in the NFC. I mean, they've all taken a loss, right? The undefeated team right now is the New Orleans Saints, which, by the way, saw this crazy stat yesterday. 14 possessions so far for their offense and 14 scoring drives. The Saints haven't punted once so far through 2 weeks. I mean, so kudos to them and Derek Carr for, getting stuff done. But outside of them, no one really looks to be a major threat as long as we can go ahead and get out of our way. And like Tony said, maybe it's the lack of preseason now, or maybe it's the lack of how extensive these training camps and all that can be. Some good teams are just going to take time to get better, right? Like maybe we're okay. What are some things that we have to look forward to for positivity? How can we encourage the faithful who are watching this, wondering to themselves, like, dude, like where's the bright side? Where's the silver lining? How do we find this pot of gold at the end of the rainbow?
I mean, the one bright side is we're going to be facing the Rams. I mean, they're a injury-decimated team. Like, they're decimated with injuries. And, like, this is what they need. They need that game to come in, build their confidence back up. They still have to show up. They still have to play. They're not just going to walk on the field and win. Because if they go in with that mentality, they're going to lose. But I think this is an opportunity to get that, not mojo, because it's hard to get mojo when all your aces are out on the field, but to get that somewhat confidence back into that locker room, back into that offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball. So I think that's a positive. I do think this gives the fan base an opportunity to really say, all right, listen, we got Brock Purdy now. There's no Debo. There's no CMC. There's no more strategy and gimmick plays because of those two being on the field. I want to see Kyle get back to a more traditional offense and go balanced and do maybe like a 55-45, 55-45 run pass ratio for the offense. So, I mean, let this kid play football, right? And what really hurt, first of all, I thought the Vikings were going to beat them anyway because, number one, this team hasn't beat them in Minnesota since 1992. I know everyone says something's got to give at some point, but that stadium is tough to play in. You know, you had Pooney, an unexperienced player on the offensive line starting in the key role where he has to top Brendel to stop it when everyone's set. So that you got to factor into that. Also, a lot of people overlook this. Sam Darnold knows that defense inside and out. He came out and said to Mike Silver that when he saw that look, he knew that those safeties, they were going to try to switch it from they showed man and went to zone. On his third step, he launched that ball before Jefferson was even near where he caught it. He knew what that play was on the defense. He knew the look. He knew what was going to happen, and he took advantage of it. And I really think Kyle Shanahan and the defensive staff, mainly the defensive staff, really underestimated Sam Darnold on that side of the ball. One thing I will tell you about Sam Darnold, he's a very filmed guy. He's a headsy guy. He's a worker off the field, but he got him on that one. He pulled the wool right, like he got him on that one, and he knew it, and at that point, that was the backbreaker.
I mean, I agree. Now here there are some positives to even take away from that, right? Like the Niners don't tend to make the same mistake twice, you know. And dare I say, I feel like we got a lot of our mistakes out the way. You know, we got the special team snafu, the block punt. That's kind of being forgotten about with the fact that we lost this game, right? Like people are forgetting about that. We got the special team snafu out the way for the block punt, and then the muff punt return. The blown coverage. I never ever want to see Odom on any team's wide receiver one in coverage again, right? Like I feel like these are things that we can maybe kind of sort of learn from. These are things that will allow us to get out of our own way. And you talked about maybe getting back to almost a 50-50 split between passing and running. We were damn close to that in week one, Tony. When we opened that game up against the Jets, we were pretty close to it. And I get it. When you're beating a team by 2 scores, you want to run the ball a lot more just to get the time off the clock and get out of there faster. We were pretty close to it. But how do we get back to fast starts, I guess, because that seems to be the difference between these two games. That's the consistent point. We haven't started fast in either of these 2 games.
Well, I mean, that's what happens when your 2 big pieces of your offense hold out and one is injured. You don't have that rapport. You don't have that timing, and everything's clicking on all cylinders going into the season. And we're not going to see that anymore. I think Kyle's going to go back to running the ball and going back to the true play-action pass because on third down situations or second and long situations or first and long situations, Jordan Mason is not CMC in the passing game. He's not that threat yet. I think Kyle needs to try to work him in and show him, listen, he might not be as good of a route runner. He might not be as dangerous of a route runner. He might not be that chess piece that I could use against you, but he does offer something as a receiver out of the backfield. He has to start trickling that in because right now, defensive coordinators are not respecting Jordan Mason coming out of the backfield. He's not CMC. Now, as a runner, it's a totally different story. He's running lights out. I think the main issue is they really have nobody behind him. And somebody posted a clip, I forgot who it was. Garendo came in for 1 snap. It was an outside zone design, and he literally ran into the back of an offensive lineman. Okay?
Yeah,
that's not ideal.
That was scary. Yeah.
And that tells me he's not ready to be the number 2 back. And we talked about this in the draft process, right? Multiple opportunities to be the lead back in all the colleges he attended. Never took it. Start 1 game. He was a situational player. He's not ready for this role, in my opinion. You want to put him in as a third down back and flank him off the right or left side of Purdy in the shotgun and have him run out in a pass pattern? Yeah, we could use him as that. He was a former receiver at one point. Use him to his strengths. He's not a zone runner right now because he doesn't feel it and he doesn't see it. And that's a major issue playing at the NFL level.
Yeah. You know, I think that the only way other teams start to respect Mason as a pass catcher is if he gets those opportunities. And there's been times where, you know, just in these first 2 weeks, we've seen Mason just spread out to the flat and just stand there waiting. Purdy doesn't seem to look that way, and that's even a self-imposed critique of him. You know, Purdy said himself that I got to learn to take the checkdowns more. You know, I find myself trying to squeeze it into tight windows. At what point do you think Purdy starts to take that next step? Do you think that this past game maybe opens his eyes to that? Maybe they emphasize that a little bit more. Maybe they even design some what we're going to call check. It's not a check down if it's a design, but maybe they design some of those routes where the receivers and tight ends maybe take a break and run out, and then boom, we hit Mason in the flat. Is that a way that we can build up some confidence between Purdy and this new running back there for him?
Sure, you could design to line him up in a shotgun and start him running on a Texas route or an angle route out of the backfield. Start working in that way.
The truth is, we've never seen Purdy without CMC.
Correct. And the league knows that.
Oh, yeah, do that. So I'm thinking maybe – go ahead.
So now what the interesting part is, right, on paper, we spoke about this. CMC, Debo, Kittle, Aiyuk is the chronological order of the options in this offense, right? Well, guess what? Your top two are gone. One of them being your master chess piece in this whole offense. So now this is going to go on to Purdy, and I think it's very crucial for Kyle not to hang Purdy out there. I think he needs to get him in situations where it's a balanced attack and then let Purdy go on his own, right? So now Brandon Aiyuk had his holdout, his contract settled. They paid him his $30 million that he was acting like a 2-year-old about for. Now you're the number one option, Brandon Aiyuk. Now you got to show it. Okay? You got to earn it now. You got to go out there and kind of put this passing game on your shoulders almost and say, I'm going to be the difference maker. Now you're going to might see teams start to game plan to take either Kittle or Brandon Aiyuk out of the equation. Now let's see how he responds to that, because this was my number one gripe going forward into this next offseason, next year, when maybe one or two of those guys aren't there no more. Now it's go time. So now I think the rapport with Aiyuk needs to be on point between him and Purdy, and I think Kyle needs to allow that to happen. So it's going to be interesting.
Yo, what? There's something going on in 95 in Philadelphia. There was a ladder right in the middle of the highway on I-95. Just a whole big orange ladder, and I just passed another one now. Like, I don't understand. These are in the middle of the highway.
And it probably flew off of someone's truck.
Yeah, but the other one was like 20 minutes ago. Like, it was back by the Eagle Stadium. It's nuts. All right, so I agree. I do want to see more from Brandon Aiyuk. I want to see if it's going to be tougher now, right? Like, if you weren't getting yours off in the first two games, it's going to be tougher now with no Debo and no Aiyuk. I mean, no CMC, because that's even more eyes on you. Is it realistic to expect him? I mean, it's also going to mean more targets naturally, right? So is it realistic to see him improve? Like, is that a realistic expectation we should have?
Who, Purdy?
The time? No. Aiyuk. The time, the reps, and now hopefully more targets should be coming his way now. We should see an improvement in production, no?
I would hope so, because if it doesn't carry
whether the eyes and coverage are on you or not, this is the role that the money says you were built to be.
Yeah, 100%. He better step up. So he's going to have a lot of people on his back.
Oh, well, listen, man, it sounds like you're at your stop. I'm pulling up to where I got to go, too. I think that, Tony, the Niners are going to be one of the most dangerous teams once we get around that week 8, week 9 curve, maybe coming out of our bye week, when everybody's healthy and everybody's back, and we start hitting our stride as an offense. is this maybe our year that we could be that New York Giants team from 2011, right? Where it's like, man, they were the hottest team going into the postseason, and we ride that wave all the way. Could we possibly be one of those teams? Because I just feel like these next 3 or 4 games are going to be pretty tough for the Niners.
I mean, it's possible. It's possible, but I think they need to really get their shit in line. I think they really need to come up with an offensive game plan or an offensive scheme to help this transition for Purdy going forward and getting the rest of these guys in sync.
Yeah.
Because there's a those are two massive pieces in previous years that this offense was centered around. Very massive pieces. So
Right.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, the Niners do have to figure something out, especially with passes near and around the line of scrimmage. Debo and Christian McCaffrey were really, really those guys, and how they're both going. Did we lose Tony? You there? Uh-oh. You guys got me? All right. And I think we might have lost Tony, but I was going to wrap this thing up. All I was saying was the 49ers have to do something here. I don't know how long we were frozen. I apologize about that. The 49ers have to do something here. I could hear Tony. I don't know if you guys heard him or not. Hopefully you did. But what we got to do is focus on getting the ball to some pass catchers at slightly beyond and slightly behind the line of scrimmage. Those guys were Debo and Christian McCaffrey. And with both of those guys being gone now, who is going to be that safety valve for Brock Purdy? We haven't seen Brock Purdy without Christian McCaffrey. He clearly doesn't trust the checkdowns, but he's going to have to. I think Kyle's going to have to kind of force that to be a part of this offense, because even when Christian McCaffrey is, pinned in as healthy and back, it doesn't mean he's going to be ready to take on the full load. So we have to plan accordingly. All right. Someone's got to take on the role of the guy that gets those passes at and near the line of scrimmage the way Debo did so often for the 49ers. All right. I don't know who it's going to be. It's going to be interesting to see. But Kyle, you're the genius. Put the plan together so we can see it executed. All right. We're going to talk to you guys soon. We will be live at 4:00 in about 2 hours. Myself and Wayne on the No Harm, No Foul show. We got a good one for you guys today. All right. So make sure you guys are there. Prepare for glory. Anticipate pain. But always, wrong one, remain faithful. I'll see you guys soon, all right? Peace.
So now they've got to start.
We all gas, no brakes, pumped up, no fakes. We spinning, we winning, we high stakes. We never miss, we all makes. Look at us dudes trying to prove, bringing you news with nothing to lose. Mike, Nick, Tony, Wayne, Method Man, we bring the pain. Hey, see, I'ma confess it. We under the pressure. If you looking to find us, we them nothing but Niners. Niners. We nothing but Niners. We nothing but Niners.